We never want to harm our spouse. But sometimes we have to be a little bit disruptive to make changes.
Yeah.
And so when we say, oh, I don't want them to be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
it's a sign that you really aren't invested in changing the relationship.
Hi there, we're Greg and Erin Smalley, and we're here at Focus on the Family. We're speakers, authors, head up the marriage department here, as well as marriage counselors. We are so excited today to have Dr. John Townsend here, the co-author of the Boundaries book. We all know it. Super excited to have him here, and we're going to talk about boundaries. So welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's great. John and I went to Biola University, Rosemead School of Psychology, so weren't there at the same time. I mean, you look like you went there way after me, but I think you were there a little bit before me. So you look great.
Think about those things, Greg.
Oftentimes people will say, I'm setting a boundary, but actually it turns out to be something more of a control thing or an unhealthy boundary. What would you say to a young man who read your book and then shows up in counseling with 6 pages of boundaries for his marriage? Would that be healthy or unhealthy, or what would you say?
Well, first, I'd say, did you really read the book? Because you wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, Aaron, it's a big issue and a big misunderstanding.
Right.
A lot of times people say that they use boundaries to fix someone or change someone, and it ends up being controlling someone.
Right.
And if you look at Galatians 5, it says the fruit of the Spirit is self-control, and it doesn't list other control. So boundaries are basically a property line, a way to protect yourself, your heart, your time, your money, your feelings, and they're about you. And so when you have a property line, you're not out there changing everybody else's houses. So people that understand boundaries, especially in the marriage context,
Right.
it's more about what can I do to change a bad situation that we're a part of.
Yeah, something that's not working, something that if it doesn't change, keeps shutting the individuals down, hearts are closing to each other. When we've thought about boundaries, for me, it's what do I need to put in place so that my heart stays open to Aaron? So hopefully that's what you meant by it.
No.
Or maybe I've been doing the wrong thing
No, absolutely.
all these years. When you are working with couples, as you're hearing about couples, what are some of the common big boundary violators that you see that go on between couples?
Well, if you look at boundaries as a triad of 3 things, the violations come in 2 areas. Every healthy marriage, and you guys are great promoters of that, has 3 things. It has love, which is closeness, vulnerability, intimacy. It has freedom. Somebody can have their own choices and speak their minds in nice ways, but they can make choices. They're not afraid in becoming compliant. That was a slave position. And the third, after freedom, is responsibility. I got to shoulder my load, take personal responsibility for my behavior and my acts and all those things. And the problems come in the last 2 areas, either problems in freedom or problems in responsibility. Can I just unpack that a bit?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, take a couple where, the genders go back and forth. It's just nobody's always the villain in these things. But suppose there's a
Hey, there's 2 of us though against Aaron, so we could say it's mainly her. No.
I'm setting a boundary around that.
Yeah.
okay. Both of you lie down on the couch.
Yeah. Let's
You
get
learned
into
that
this.
at Rosemead, right?
Yeah, I did. Suppose there's a marriage where one of the spouses does not feel free.
Yeah.
They don't have a voice. They're afraid to speak up or whatever. And maybe in this case, the genders can go either way. But maybe the husband tends to be controlling.
Yeah.
And tells her what to do and doesn't take feedback and doesn't take her feelings into consideration. And maybe in the extreme cases, gaslighting and horrible stuff like that. And she feels afraid and she's walking on eggshells. Well, that's an example of a marriage where love's not going to happen because there is no fear in love, says 1 John.
Right.
How can she feel vulnerable and wonderful and warm with him when she's always afraid of upsetting him? So that's one of the problems in freedom. She's got to learn what freedom means. And that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
The second was problems and responsibility. Suppose in this case, the wife is really irresponsible. She's not controlling. She's just a kid. And so she spends way too much money and everything's Disney and all this, and the house is chaos. She's not being a mean, controlling person, but she's irresponsible, not taking her load. And so guess what? he's got to do it all. He's got to be the structure. He's got to be the provider. He's got to be the person parenting the right ways. And he doesn't want to, he's got to make all this money to make her happy. Well, that's a breakdown. So those are the two main categories where you see problems in boundaries.
I like that. So take those two, for example. So you've got maybe, again, you said either gender, but in this case, a husband who's controlling and then a wife who's being irresponsible. Talk to us about the art of setting the boundaries. So for the other spouses in those cases, how do boundaries get set? What does that sound like? What does that look like?
It really is about the other person because that's the one who's miserable.
Yeah.
Right. They're the one that are in pain that say,
Yeah.
something's got to change. It can't go on this way.
Yeah.
So it's generally the one that's either afraid to speak up, that's got to say something's got to happen, or the one that's shouldering all the burdens.
Right.
Yeah, those are both different but similar scenarios. And the person in the pain has got to do something. So let me kind of go through a bit linear of a sequence depending on how severe the problem is.
Okay.
You know, as therapists, we know that problems are either there's no problem, and that's what's called normal, or there's mild, moderate, or severe. So I'll start with mild, and then if it's severe, we go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this will also give your viewers a picture of like what are some examples of boundaries.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
learning from the master.
Yes.
Well,
Bring it.
always start off with love.
Okay.
That's how God does it. Be vulnerable and say, the behavior we're talking about is really hard for me, and it makes me feel discouraged, and I don't feel really close, and I don't feel like a we, and I need something to change. That's either for the controller or that's for the irresponsible.
Yeah.
But if the problem is mild, the spouse might go, I'm sorry. I know I do it, and I need no more to it. The
They
person,
own it.
Yeah,
own
thank
it.
you for
What
telling
can I
me.
do?
And they
Yeah.
repent,
Yeah.
and they say, what can I do to change?
Yeah.
And then that's all you needed was that first step of some words.
Yeah.
But if it's more severe than that, then it moves to, I guess you would just call it truth. I'm going to have to confront it. This behavior is not okay with me, and it's hurtful to me and the family, and it hurts my feelings about you. And something's got to change. You can tell you're amping up the power a little bit. It's a little bit like Matthew 18, where Jesus says, if your brother sins against you, go to him. And then if you repent, bring 2 or 3, then bring the church. And then it escalates.
Right.
Depending on how in denial and lack of ownership that other person is. Hopefully they'll say, I didn't know it hurt you that bad, and they change. If that doesn't work, then you've got to go to a warning. And the warning is something's going to happen. I'm not going to try to change you. I can't change or fix, and you don't change, you can't fix me. But something's going to change. And so that might mean I've got to do X, Y, Z. For example, it might be, I'm going to go see a marriage therapist who wants to go.
Right.
Now, the spouse might go, I don't believe in that stuff. And then the answer is not to get discouraged. The answer is to say, well, then I'll be going to marriage counseling without you, and we'll talk about strategies to deal with you. Now,
without you there.
So you
We'll
don't
talk
want to
about
be
you
there.
all.
which is a motivation for the person to go, I think I've got time to be at
It's
That's
really
great.
that meeting.
Yeah, I want to get a copy of this recording
'Cause it's sort of like-
use that.
Yeah.
The strategy, I need to be involved there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going, and we will be talking about
And
strategies. to
that's,
do.
that's a warning.
Yeah.
And then it moves to an execution of the consequence. Now, the Boundaries in Marriage book has tons of
Yeah.
consequences you can use, but I just use that as an example.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about the consequence, whether it's I can't spend as much time together, or we're going to have to do a restructure financially, or whatever it is. If the spouse who has given the warning does, and the person says, I don't care, I'm going to keep doing X, then you must follow up on that. That spouse must follow up. All of a sudden, the person just tunes you out because they know you're not going to follow through. You got to follow through.
Right.
So get a lot of help, get prayer circles, get a good therapist, get a good small group, get people who love you and say, this is hard to follow up. It's not my nature. And they'll strengthen you like Moses' buddies,
Yeah.
Joshua.
Yeah.
And
And Aaron holding his arms up
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
So then it goes, suppose that doesn't work. Then you have to go to other things like emotional distance as a boundary. Like, I can't be open with you. I can't open my heart like you were talking about. So I'll be here. I'm responsible. I'll do my job. I just can't connect with you, and it's not safe anymore. Sometimes that helps, but as you go down the severity continuum, sometimes it takes financial stuff like your overspending is into bankruptcy. I'm getting an attorney and getting 2 different accounts. Then after that is physical distance, where
Mm.
sometimes you have to have what we call a structured separation. Not
Yeah.
just separation where you're in timeout forever. You're working on your stuff. Both of you, there's a coach that says you're ready, you're not ready.
Mhm.
I really believe in the power of structured separation. There's a boundary. And the last one is just time itself.
Mm.
Timeouts are nice. Where you say, I got to get my head together, you get yours together. Time can help somebody. If you think about the prodigal son, he had some time away and he ended up in a
Right.
pig farm and he wasn't happy. And so sometimes when the spouse says, I miss that person, their
Right.
warmth and
Yeah.
their love and
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
wisdom,
Yeah.
it's a motivator for them to change.
Yeah.
So that's how
makes
you
sense.
address it with vulnerability and you go until you don't need to go
Mhm.
further.
That's really good.
Yeah. Why would you say individuals, especially in marriage, have a hard time setting those boundaries, whether it's mild or severe? What is it that makes it hard?
Well, humans have had a problem ever since Genesis 3 in the fall with this. And number one, we're all boundary freaks in some way because we all would like to have everything. I'd like to control the universe, wouldn't
Right.
you?
Mhm.
So we all have that wish, but we don't like to have a relationship where we bring it up. And there's three basic fears you have to deal with. And you'll find out one of them is more dominant with you than others.
Mhm.
The first one is I'm afraid of loss of attachment. If I set a limit, confront you or whatever, disagree, you might pull away your relational resources, what we call your relational nutrients from you, your warmth, your care, your love, your safety, your presence.
Hmm.
That's going to be hard for me
Mhm.
Yeah.
because that you're a person I go to for the well of love.
Mhm.
The second one is a fear of conflict. I
Mm.
can't take your anger. And when you escalate and when you get mad or when you get passive aggressive or whatever,
Mhm.
my fears of anger are so horrible that I'll just stay walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Right.
And the third one is guilt. And, the gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
I hear that one a lot.
Right. And guilt has to do with, I don't want to wound that person. I don't want to
Mhm.
make them uncomfortable. And the problem is, we're supposed to kind of wound each other in some good ways. There's a difference between hurting someone and harming
Mhm.
someone. When I go to my dentist hurts me,
Mhm.
but they're
Mhm.
fixing what too many Oreos caused. So that he doesn't harm me, he
Mhm.
hurts me.
Mhm.
And David said, it's a favor when my friend smites me because he's waking me up. We
Mhm.
never want to harm our spouse, but sometimes we have to be a little bit disruptive to make changes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so when we say, "Oh, I don't want them to be uncomfortable,"
Yeah.
it's a sign that you really aren't invested in changing the relationship. So deal with the guilt,
Yeah.
but I don't want to harm, but we got to have some hard talks.
Yeah.
Those are the three big fears.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I know for me, the guilt that if I set a boundary or if I confronted Aaron, and this was earlier in our marriage, was just being driven by even mistakes that I had made, poor choices that I had made that would cause me to go, well, who am I? Look at all the stuff that I've done to mess up. Well, like, why should I point out her?
Yeah.
Why should I do the, one finger pointing at her, three pointing back at me?
Right.
And it felt like Satan really grabbed a hold of that.
Yeah.
And just tried to convince me that, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you should never say anything to her because look at all what you've done. So
Right.
even, I mean, that's that guilt that you're talking about. That
Mhm.
really crippled might be too hard of a word,
Or
but it kept me,
hindered.
it hindered
Yeah.
for sure. It kept me from doing that because a healthy marriage will have two people who are willing to give feedback to each other, willing to set boundaries
And say
with
the
each
hard
other,
things
say the
sometimes.
hard things.
And it's so funny you said that because I was working with a couple like this where he had that same dynamic.
Yeah.
And what we
Remember,
had,
this was confidential. You're not supposed to
I,
see.
there was a
so
person
that's
in
hurtful.
another
It was-
continent.
Yes, years and years and years
Name
ago. Yeah.
Craig
Another world.
Tully. Yeah.
I love you guys. Where he had a similar dynamic. And what we had to work on was the fact that he had done his work and saying,
Yeah.
you've earned the right. Now, if you haven't done any work and you're blaming, well, no, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's a difference.
But if you've changed and repented and processed and done your grieving and changed your behavior, you've earned the right to say, look, I'm cleaning my cup here, and it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is you've done such a great job with boundaries and now playing that boundaries in marriage. How do people take this concept and misuse it most of the time?
Well, there's a couple of
'Cause
ways.
you've had to have heard great stories
Yeah.
to make you smile.
I
You
was,
talked about 6 pages of things. Yeah, what do you say?
I was at a conference one time, and little old lady came up at the break and said, "Thank you for your book. It changed everything for me." And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome. How did it change?" She goes, "I read it and I divorced my husband."
Oh,
And I went,
Wow.
"Well,
wow.
we don't talk
Yeah.
about how divorce is a great thing in that book." She goes, "You don't?" I go, "No, we
Oh,
talk about
really?
like all these steps and then
Yeah.
the separation, but we're not big advocates of divorce."
Yeah.
And I said, "Did you read it?" She goes, "No, I just like the title." So
Wow.
read it next time.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one
Wow.
is what I call ignore and zap,
Mm.
where the passive person puts up with and puts up with and
Yeah.
puts up with,
Mhm.
and then Godzilla comes out.
Yeah.
And
Tidal
third,
wave of
oh my
boundaries
goodness,
show up. Yeah.
it's sort of like it says in Proverbs 30 that the earth trembles when a slave becomes a king.
Mm.
Mm.
So Charlie, compliant,
Yeah.
passive, has been a
Mhm.
slave, and you open the door and he sets boundaries there. I don't
Yeah.
want sugar in my coffee. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
So we have that
Yeah.
dynamic too.
Thus the 6 pages
Right.
of notes
notes.
for
Mhm,
sure.
mhm,
Well, we just are so grateful for
mhm.
the amazing work that you've done all these years. And we certainly, as we work with couples,
Mhm,
obviously boundaries come up so much.
mhm.
And we love the wisdom and what you practically shared with us today. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for what you guys do in the world.
And if you love the content, don't forget to subscribe. We have weekly videos because at the end of the day, we want to help your family thrive in Christ.